sure that you're comfortable picking them up and then also holding it up for a moment. And just find that spot where they're comfortable holding their front foot. There you go. Hi, sweetie. Good to see you. Hello. Alrighty guys, today, can everybody hear me? Way back there. Today we are working on abscesses and treating them. Do you guys know what an abscess is? Who's dealt with one before? Yes, sort of. Before we talk about what they are, who remembers what anatomy is in the hoof? Let's think about the bones going from bottom to top. What's that first pointy bone at the toes? Or right here? The coffin bone. Awesome. Is that the only bone within the hoof capsule? Now, what else is in there? Navicular bone. Awesome. Really good job. And then, what's the kind of soft, I don't want to say the name of it, soft, squishy thing that absorbs impact every time a horse steps?
Because of the teeth. Right?
The cushion. Yeah, there we go. So every time a horse steps, it ideally would be landing on its heel first and then to its toe. And it will be kind of using that digital cushion, which is really, that's all it does. It just cushions every impact of every step. All right, next let's talk about the hoof and the outer capsule called the hoof wall. This is really material that's just like your fingernails. And then we have the sensitive laminae, the kind of fibrous material that holds the coffin bone in place, and it affixes to the hoof wall. All right, so everybody up to date on their hoof anatomy? Excellent. Now let's start to talk about an abscess. That's a lot of complicated anatomy and not a lot of space, right? So an abscess is just a fluid-filled infection, a little bubble that makes its way into the hoof somehow and causes discomfort. Anytime there's fluid somewhere where there shouldn't be, that's uncomfortable. Think about, have you guys ever sprained an ankle and it started to swell? And it didn't feel good, right? Well, now when that happens in the hoof, there's nowhere for that swelling to go. It just creates a lot of pressure within the hoof, so it really increases and it just increases that discomfort because there's nowhere for that swelling to go. It's trapped within the hoof wall. So there are a few different ways that you could know that your horse has an abscess. First of all, some horses go lame from it, from that discomfort. They start to limp a little bit, favoring that leg. Now, this you kind of take with a grain of salt, right? Some horses have an abscess and they don't miss a beat. You would not even know that they have an abscess. Other horses go three-legged lame. They're just very sensitive. All right, so that's one way to know. Another way to know is to feel the temperature of your horse's hoof. So go ahead and touch each hoof. We can just do the front two. It helps to touch them at the same time. We want to know, are these the same temperature or is one hotter than the other? A hot hoof, that indicates that there's something going on the inside. All right, excellent. So definitely looking for a temperature difference. That indicates that something might be going on within that hoof. Next up, let's talk about a digital pulse. As you run, and I'll show you guys on each of your horses. Oh, hi, sweetie. I love this. If you kind of run your hand down here, in this spot by the ankle, there is a collection of veins, arteries, and nerves right about here. Now, in a healthy horse, when nothing is going wrong within the foot, you actually should not feel a pulse. Now, remember, we talked about this a few weeks ago with TPR. Every horse is different. For some horses, it's natural to have a slight digital pulse, and that's just how they are. So definitely kind of understanding is this normal for my horse is really, really important. But if you have an abscess that's creating pressure inside the hoof, that creates a little bit more of a bounding pulse every time your horse's heart beats. Right? The heartbeat is what sends the blood circulating through the hoof. And if there is a little bit more pressure inside, that circulation is to work a little bit harder to go through the same path. So you'll start to feel a more grounding pulse. So go ahead and try just feeling the digital pulse. If you don't feel anything, that's actually okay. It makes it a little hard to learn. There's a light. There you go. Here.
Thank you.
How are we doing, guys?
Did you feel something?
No, and that's normal. Alrighty, so let's now talk about treatment. We're going to get hands-on. We treat abscesses with a combination of, sometimes you've got hot water, but then also bath salts, Epsom salts, and iodine. That combination, using those things, will both try to draw out the infection and also help to harden the sole to just improve a little bit of comfort for the horse. Now, abscesses, when they're working their way out, they've got two ways that they can escape the hoof capsule. They can blow out the bottom of the sole, in which case you really do see like a crater on the plantar aspect of the hoof. Or they can work their way up and blow out through the coronet band, in which case, again, you just see like a big kind of bloody hole. That's okay, it means it's not in the hoof anymore, it has worked its way out. That's actually the good thing. All right, so first, if you are able to soak your horse's hoof in a bucket of hot water for about 20 minutes a day with a combination of iodine and Epsom salt, that's a really common way of treating it. But it costs a lot of time, right? Because you have to stand there for at least 20 minutes. Not a lot of horses like standing with one foot in a bucket of water. So we're going to learn ways where you can actually take that treatment with the horse and they can move around in it. Everybody go ahead and grab your duct tape. Okay, and we're going to do this one partner at a time. So the first partner is going to do this as we talk through it. The second partner is going to try it again afterwards, okay? So everybody gets to try it. We are going to make a little mixture of bath salts, Epsom salt, and iodine. Fix it to the hoof with a diaper. Wrap the whole thing in duct tape. All right, the first time you do it, it will not be pretty. That's okay. That's why we're practicing. So I always like to start by making a little mesh, kind of a lattice of duct tape. You can do it in a square. Some people create a star in a circular shape by just crossing the duct tape over each other. All right, so it's going to take a few minutes. Go ahead and make your duct tape lattice, which is going to cover the bottom of the hook. That's about right. Do you know how to make kind of like look in the top of that kind of lattice? No gaps.
So one more probably that way.
So I find it easiest, if I may, to kind of start by alternating this way. So alternate vertical and horizontal pieces. Your next one will go here.
Oh.
You got it?
Do you mind having the roll?
I know what we're supposed to do, but it's hard because everything's getting stuck together.
I know, so these are well, so just to check, guys. There we go. Now, as you fill in your pieces, there's no wrong way to do this, but it helps if they kind of overlap here and there. So maybe your next piece would be horizontal. And then as you work, make sure to fill in all of the gaps. So there should be one kind of solid piece of duct tape. Guys?
Okay, I'm gonna trim this up.
Everybody has a different way that they like to make this little mesh covering that's going to just go on the bottom surface. So as we work, if you find a technique that you like better, definitely feel free to use it. Alrighty guys, so next up, take your plastic cup. We're going to make our mixture of Epsom salt and iodine. All right, now when you mix these together, they should have the consistency of wet sand. So go ahead and fill your cup between around a third of the way with Epsom salt. And then add iodine until you get that right consistency. If you get a little bit too much or too little, that's okay. You can always add as needed. Emily, why don't you do a little bit more, please? Yeah. You might do a little bit more, Tessa. And then Isabel, try mixing with your stir. Yeah. We need enough that will cover the sole of the hook. So if it's clumpy, try adding more iodine, okay? I really like this at the bottom, but without the clumps, that bit at the bottom. So if you add a little bit more Epsom salt, it will be the right consistency of kind of like sand at peak.
Yeah.
Alrighty guys, so we have a few steps coming up. We're going to do them kind of quickly so that our horses don't have their hoofs being held up for too long. So first, and I'm just going to describe it really quickly and then we'll walk through it together. First, pick up your horse's hoof and cover the sole with this mixture that you just made. Then put on the diaper, all right, and use the sticky wing tabs to tape to the front. Then put on your duct tape mesh. And then you're going to need more duct tape to wrap around to hold it in place. Once that's done, your horse can put their foot down. Okay, so it's really helpful to have one partner ready to feed you duct tape really quickly, okay?
So in the hood?
Yeah, and you could use your hands or you can kind of use the cup to pour it on and with your stir and kind of scoop it out. One and it might be a 2-hand job or a 3-hand job if you want to grab it. Yeah. So it might take a few hands to try to help. Yeah, you can use your hands or a quick pour right out of your cup with your stir, but however you're comfortable. This is how I go iodine sometimes maybe you can feel like
Yeah. I guess.
So this is side, and then take a little wing and wrap them around the front. Yeah, this is that. She is being perfect.
Yeah. Maybe the duct tape she was in there. Okay.
Good job. Now, did you guys use the wings of the diaper?
No.
Let me find them. Yeah, no, you were perfect. But see how these, you can unstick them. This looks really good. And then you'll kind of wrap them around the front. That will help the diaper hold itself in place. Okay. Ready now. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cover it still. Put it flat on top and wrap it around, right? There we go. So Emily, I think these diapers are just a little bit small for his hook. So you guys know, I think they're a size 1. In a perfect world, I would love to see it go a little bit higher up the heel, just so that the duct tape doesn't fit on these hands. But since we're going to be taking it off right away, it's okay. All right, so next, you can give it a break if you want, but if you can tolerate it, literally just wrap around the edge of the hook wall. Give it like 2 or 3 reps, okay? Not too tight on the heels. Yeah. Very nice, you guys. So next up, I'll show you how to, that's what it is, but next I'll show you how to store it up.
We need to scissors.
Oh my gosh. Alrighty guys, so now we are going to just shore up the capsule that you've created with a diaper and duct tape. The heels are really sensitive because we don't want to apply duct tape really tightly over the heels. The heels absorb they have a lot of motion with every step. We want to make sure that it's not so loose that it will just slip off, but also that it's not so tight that it's applying pressure to the heel balls. Alright, so from the bottom, you're going to apply duct tape in a V shape, 2 layers around the heel balls. They're going to start right here, coming up and attaching to the front of the horse's hoof. Alright, alternating. So one heel and then the other, one heel and then the other. From there, take flat pieces of duct tape just to cover the bottom of the hook one more time and to cover the front of the hook one more time, and then you'll be done. Alright, I do want to just triple check that everybody has the right amount of pressure. So go ahead. Well, let me see. It might not be able to do that. Oh, you're right. That is a little tall. I would say next time you set it up, as long as the diaper goes above. Alrighty. So the pressure on the heels, I'd say it could be a little bit looser, but not much. Like this one on the right side feels right. The medial aspect is a little bit tighter. Okay, so yeah, definitely it's one of you to stick your finger in. And then the other thing I would say is, I know that the diaper can go very high. If we had a bigger diaper that fit his hook better, the diaper might have come to here so that your duct tape around the heel could have come around this spot. Sound good? Go ahead, stick your finger in. And once you're done, you guys can choose if you lay a lot of flat strips of duct tape across the front. That will help it look a little bit nicer, but also help secure it just so that he doesn't accidentally rip or snag and pull the whole thing off. If you don't feel strongly about those steps, you can cut it off. When you're cutting, I find the easiest way is to start at the heel if he'll let you, or the front if you want. Okay. I've already done this one. That's okay. I clean up. Good job. So go ahead and start this stuff. Okay, so next up, you guys, we are going to learn how to create a soaking boot. All right, now this is to replicate actually sticking their hoof in a bucket of hot water and soaking it with Epsom salt and iodine that way. So everybody grab your IV bag. Partner number 2 is going to put this one on. Don't worry, this one's easier. And then with your scissors, cut off as sparingly as you can, but cut off this top half, or this top piece that has the tooth. Alright, leave a lot on the bottom, so as little as you can, create a big opening at the top. Just a straight flat line to make this a rectangle that doesn't have these tubes at the top. So these are IV bags that veterinarians use to administer fluid. The veterinarians often keep these, so I picked these up from Piedmont Equine. I just went and asked, can I have like 20 of them? And so just keep that in mind if you're ever looking for these. They're a nice, really thick plastic for our purposes. So when you are creating a soaking boot, you would create the same mixture of iodine and Epsom salt, although you don't have to mix it as thoroughly because we would add hot water to it as well. So next, go ahead and open up your bag and slip it over your horse's hoof like a sock. Nice, good job, you guys. Alrighty, guys. So next, we would take duct tape to create just a little ring to our shawl. If you can, I would say right about here. All right, just below the ankle. Okay, now you don't want it to be you want it to be tight enough that it won't slip off the hook, but loose enough that you can still fit a few fingers in there and pour some water down there. All right, so don't make it so tight that it cuts off any circulation. You should be able to stick a few fingers in there. Go ahead and try it with one piece of duct tape. That's okay, guys. You can use them. So our other volunteers, you help us a lot. Pretty good. You should make it a little bit snugger, but if this should stay on. So if you might wrap it a little bit more duct tape around, do like another 2 weeks, and if you can make it a touch snugger, that would be ideal. And then, just kind of fold or roll these pieces down. And you could even secure it with duct tape, just so that the cut plastic doesn't stick in or irritate the skin. And then from there, we shore up the plastic with duct tape using the same methods that we did in the previous classes. So take the duct tape. You could make the same lattice, put it on the bottom, wrap it around, to kind of shore it that way. You want to practice that? Sure. Alright, and just so you guys know, once you've shored everything up, the warm water goes in last. And then just smooth it over the hook wall. Good. Now these edges along the hook wall, that's where it's most likely to rip as your horse walks around. Yeah, so like right here, especially since she's got shoes on. So what we'll do is, do you remember taking the roll of duct tape and Isabel wrapping it around these edges? That's the point, that's the purpose of that, is to shore that up. Okay. And from there, you would just smooth everything over with flat pieces. You could do more on the bottom if your horse really tends to rip through these. But everybody has a different method of creating soaking boots and the diapers like you did.
So I start with down here.
I would start with down there, and then once you wrap that at least 2 circles, then you would start applying flat pieces over the top. Hi, sweetie, you're being so perfect. As you do this, you might see, okay, I turned out my horse for a day, where are the parts that he wore away and rode through? Those are the ones where next time you do it, you store it up with more duct tape. Okay? Hey, sir, would you like to try that, or do you be ready to get ready to try? Yeah. Okay, great. Then Olivia and I'll have them do this one. And then, yeah, and the more you try this, the less bulky it would get. But, and it's still got the right amount of snugness around her heels. That's really good.
Okay, so we would fill it up with warm water now.
Yes, exactly. Once everything is secured. So as you practice this, it will become a little bit less bulky, but I think it looks pretty good for, especially for your first attempt. And just kind of flat pieces horizontally will also help. Kind of just reduce it a little bit.
So if it's cold outside, the water will probably cool down. right?
It will
So
cool down
is
after a
that-
little while, but keep in mind her hoof does generate a little bit of heat.
Oh, and she would be in stall rest.
She can get turned out like this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now we have the pleasure of getting it up, and then you can say thank you with a few more carrots, and she can go home. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Let's wait until she's got it.
Thank you.
Great job, you guys. Thank